right, let's get started. Thanks everyone for coming. We're so pleased to have you join us and with this great turnout for this event. I am Jennifer Rothschild. I'm the Senior Scholar of Character for the Educating Character Initiative, which is a part of the Program for Leadership and Character at Wake Forest University. I'm so happy to be facilitating the conversation today. The Educating Character Initiative is a new project, a new part of the PLC. We are organized around trying to facilitate the excellent work you all are doing, educating character at colleges and universities. Our aim primarily is to help build community amongst those of us who take this work, educating our character as ours. If you want to see the range of what we're up to, you can check out the ECI website. We're running a funding competition. We have all sorts of exciting events coming up. We're going to be releasing resources over the course of the coming year. We'd love it if you would stop by the website and also especially sign up for the ECI community. That's what we're using to connect with you and your work and help connect you with one another. So we'd really appreciate it if you would take a minute to do that. One of our goals at the Educating Character Initiative is to create spaces where we can think together about how to do this work, educating character. So to that end, our meeting today is the first session in a 5-session webinar unit on how to educate character in the university. Registration is also open for our second session, which will be on March 5th. Registration for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th sessions of this unit will open soon. So stay tuned for those. They're all going to be great. We're going to do educating moral virtues, how to educate for intellectual virtues. We're going to do a session on civic virtues. And then the 5th session will be on how to educate character across differences. So those are all going to be great. We have different experts coming for those sessions. Although Michael is going to be back for a session too. So we're keeping him around. Our topic for today is the very important issue of building institutional capacity to educate character. And we're so lucky to have Michael Lamb and Kenneth Townsend here to lead the conversation. So here's the plan. I'm going to turn it over to our speakers. They will have the floor for presentation. After their presentation, we will open up to question and answer. We'd love to have a discussion, a kind of collaborative conversation about the material that, that they set up for us in the first part of our meeting. Because we're such a big group, I think it makes the most sense to run the questions through the chat. So if you have a question, you don't have to wait for the Q&A period. If you have a question during the presentation, you can go ahead and type it in the chat. And I will, when we get to the question portion of the session, I'll relay the questions to our speakers and do my best to keep us moving through those. If there are any we don't get to, then I'll try to follow up on those after the session is over. And now, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to turn it over to Michael Lamb, the Executive Director of the Program for Leadership and Character, and Kenneth Townsend, the Executive Director of Leadership and Character in the Professional Schools at Wake Forest, for their discussion of how to build the institutional capacity to educate character, lessons learned at Wake Forest University. Thanks, guys, for coming.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you all for being here. We're delighted to have so many people on this call to think about how to educate character in your own context. I'm Michael Lamb, and I direct the program here at Wake Forest alongside my colleague, Kenneth Townsend. So this is meant to be a really interactive session. So we'll offer a few reflections at the beginning, and then we'll want to invite you to ask questions, share insights, offer your own perspectives. This is meant to be a real learning community with all of us, and we're still learning ourselves about how to do this work well. And so really just invite you to share insights and wisdom you've gained in your years of actually integrating character at your own university. So we'll begin by starting to share a bit more about our own program at Wake Forest, to give you a sense of who we are and how we think about what leadership and character look like here. We've been going now for about 7 years since we started this program for leadership and character, and this work really comes out of our own culture and commitment. Wake Forest was founded in 1834 for students, quote, of good character, so it's part of our institutional DNA to think about character as part of what a university education might be. Our motto is Pro Humanitate, which means for humanity, which inspires us to think about our own humanity as a source for helping humanity beyond ourselves. So it's really tied to this idea of cultivating character as a part of serving humanity. So that's very much part of what we do in our institutional mission, and this program really aligns with that vision of what education at Wake Forest ought to be. We also have deep commitment from our leaders at this university. This program started with President Nathan Hatch in 2017, who had a vision for integrating leadership and character throughout the university, and that has been continued and expanded even by our new president, Susan Wente, who took over from President Hatch once he retired a few years ago. So it's been a very important initiative for the university. We have our provosts, our deans of all the schools, who are very invested in making leadership and character a central priority of the university. In fact, this past year, it was included in our new strategic framework as a key priority for the university for the next decade. So we're very excited about the ways in which the whole university now is really picking up this idea as a main priority of our work. We also are able to draw on our capacity in a very distinctive way at Wake Forest. For the last decade or so, we have faculty experts in psychology, philosophy, business, law, and other fields who are among the world's leading experts on the study of character, both how to develop character and also how to measure it. So we draw on their research to inform our programming, integrate this work across both the college for undergraduates and our graduate and professional schools. Our program approach actually is focused on various skills, leadership skills, but really rooted in character. There are many leadership programs around the country, around the world, that really focus on skill-based leadership. These are very important programs, but our program is really rooted in character as a foundation of what leadership ought to be. So we can produce not only effective leaders, but ethical leaders who serve humanity beyond themselves. We also combine both character and community in ways that really orient character toward the community and also recognize the ways in which community informs who we become as leaders of character. And those leaders aren't just heroic leaders or institutional leaders, but actually everyday leaders, from student organization presidents to roommates who might influence others in ways that might lead them toward greater good. So we think about leadership in a very expansive and egalitarian way, and also an inclusive way. We want to include different cultures, backgrounds, commitments as part of this work in ways that invite people into this conversation in ways that really open up and unsettle common views of what leadership and character might look like, and really expand our understanding of those views in different cultural contexts. At Wake Forest, we're a liberal arts college, so we actually draw on the liberal arts, not just on social sciences or on business, but also on history and literature and philosophy and music and the arts to think about leadership and character in a very inclusive and innovative way. And as we said earlier, this is really based on our research on character across different fields. We do draw on 7 strategies of character development that have been shown to be effective from different fields, including philosophy, psychology, and education. We've done research with the Oxford Character Project on these 7 strategies. You can see the citation at the bottom if you want to learn more about these strategies. We'll also add a link to the chat for those who want to learn more about how we think about these strategies in educational context. And we integrate these strategies across the entire experience for students. You can see here from our slide, we have a very comprehensive approach to doing this at Wake Forest, including starting from admissions and recruitment, think about the application process and who we bring to Wake Forest, through orientation in different schools, as well as the coursework and career development beyond Wake Forest. So think about the different ways students might, through their 4 years or 3 years of medical school or law school, integrate character into their own sense of what education might be at Wake Forest, and do that across the different institutional levels, from student life and faculty and staff up to the institution culture and administration. So a very inclusive way we think about this at different levels of institutional engagement. Okay, Kenneth, over to you.
Thank you. And let me echo what Michael said. Welcome to everybody. We're so pleased to see you all here on this call and excited for the conversation ahead. So Michael's provided a good overview of why we do this work and has provided a bit of an overview of how we think about doing our work. What I'm going to do over the next few slides is tell you a little bit about the what, right? The categories of our work, and to give you a few examples of these buckets of activity. These buckets are overlapping in a variety of ways, but nevertheless are somewhat distinct. So first off, I want to tell you a little bit about the faculty support and curriculum development category of our work. This takes place in a range of ways, including through courses that members of our leadership and character team teach, including courses that Michael and I teach. One of the most successful programs that we've hosted over the last few years, though, has been our course development and redesign workshops. over 100 faculty have now participated in these workshops over the last few years, and these courses have now touched almost 5,000 students as a result of our engagements, and that's pretty exciting on any campus. We have a more hands-on, intensive curriculum development with various departments and schools, including engineering, law, and medicine, which are some of the fields that I'm a little bit more plugged into because of my work with professional education. And we also have departmental grants that are a little bit more flexible for faculty who have ideas that might not fit neatly within a traditional course context, but perhaps it's a guest speaker, some sort of workshop or module. And these have provided additional opportunities for our faculty to get plugged in and develop curriculum in exciting ways. The second bucket of activity, so the first, remember, is the faculty support curriculum development bucket. Outside the classroom, we're plugged in lots of ways as well, right? The curriculum is a particularly important way to connect with students, but outside of the curriculum, we have robust student programming opportunities, perhaps none more important than our cohort programs. The Leadership and Character Scholars Cohort Program is one of the signature efforts of the program. This is a 4-year intensive full scholarship program where students come together across different sorts of backgrounds, but all very, very impressive, who've shown a commitment to and capacity for character-based leadership. And they learn together over the course of these 4 years. They have required service commitments during this time, reflection journals that they produce, and this has been one of the highest impact. And Michael might very well elaborate more on that later, perhaps in the Q&A. We have other valuable but not quite as intensive programs such as ambassadors programs, discussion groups. The Principal Pluralism Fellowship is one that has, I think, proven especially exciting over the last few years. It's a program where we provide space for students with very different backgrounds to come together over the course of a summer and learn how to navigate difference productively. We provide retreats and workshops from pre-orientation to orientation to specialized retreats such as the Black Women's Leadership Retreat, Leadership Power, and Confidence Retreats, both of which have happened just recently for multiple years. We have embedded programming with partners around campus. These are just a few of the examples, including arts, athletics, religious life, residence life, sustainability, and many, many more. We'll show you a slide in a moment that gives you a little bit of a sense of just how many mentoring and coaching hours we have also committed in the recent years. The face-to-face speaker forum has provided an opportunity for us to bring in high-profile, impressive leaders, including leaders of integrity and character, to our campus. Our students have been involved in interviewing some of these leaders, and this has also provided a great way for us to connect some of what we're doing on Wake Forest with our broader community beyond. The third bucket I want to briefly touch on concerns research and publications. We are invested in understanding the impact of our work. We want to understand what's working, what could work better. First off, we want to do this because we want to do better. We want to improve the work that we're doing. But we also are undertaking this work so that we can tell others about what we're finding, what's working, and what can be improved. And we feel like this is important to produce in traditional scholarly publications. As you see here on the screen, we have written a lot over the last few years, almost 130 publications in the last 4 years. We also are committed to more public forms of scholarship as well, right? Because the academic conversations are important. We want to be a part of those, but we also want to make sure that we're not simply talking to other academics. We also try to think about publications in holistic sorts of ways to include artistic sorts of contributions. We have one of the examples here on the screen, the performing character from page to stage. We also, one of the members of our team recently wrote a children's book that is a study of character. And now the fourth bucket I'll touch on, which in some ways is very relevant for today's purposes, is external engagement. We have Leadership and Character Council that includes leaders from around the world, really, who have been invested in our work and provided counsel to us. We've hosted conferences and convenings over the last several years. Some of the largest and highest impact conferences that we've hosted have been in partnership with the Oxford Character Project that Michael referenced earlier, including the Arts of Leading, Character in the Professions, and Educating Character across the university conferences. I see some names and faces of those who I think have participated in some of these conferences over the years. One of the biggest ways that we're engaging externally right now is through the Educating Character Initiative. This is an opportunity that we've received funding from the Lilly Endowment that is designed to help us facilitate the sort of work that we've been doing here at Wake Forest at other institutions, to partner with others, to learn from others, but to also help guide as appropriate other leaders in other institutions. And there are grants available to help facilitate this, but there are also communities. There's a community, regardless of the funding, that you can be a part of, so that we can do this work that is so important together better. And this program is focused on undergraduate institutions primarily, but I should say I work in the professional schools, and I'd love to hear more from those of you who have an interest in professional education. This slide that you see here now on the screen represents our total engagements from 2023. We have tried our best to plug in, to shape, to influence, to partner with folks around campus, throughout the community, and beyond. As you'll see represented here on this slide, a range of categories are represented. So at this point, I'll hand it back over to Michael.
Great. Well, we want to share a few lessons we've learned. We've been doing this work now for 7 years and are learning more every day about how to build institutional capacity. And so as we thought about how we might support a movement like this in higher education, what can we share from our own experience here about what we learned these last few years to sort of help think about institutional capacity in a more expansive way. So we'll share sort of 10 lessons and really open up to you for your questions and lessons you've learned in your own context. So first lesson is, if you build it, they will come. We found that students are hungry for this kind of work. They really want meaning and purpose in life. They come to college thinking about those questions, but also I don't know they want them always. And so when we expose them to these questions and help them see the relevance of character and purpose, they really sort of get animated by that. And we can see major shifts in how students think about their work after taking a course, for example, or being part of our program. So we're really encouraged by the fact that when we started this work, we didn't know if they would come, and very pleased that students did come once we actually provided opportunities to really engage them in creative ways. Secondly, character education is not one size fits all. It's most effective when it grows organically from the distinctive context and culture of the institution. Wake Forest, we mentioned before, has a very robust commitment to character that's going back even to our founding. We found that sort of finding ways to root our own work in that culture, in that context, really helps to provide sort of deep, sort of ways to grasp this work and have students, faculty, and staff connect to it in ways that really feel authentic to the institution. So we want to encourage you all to think about ways that this might fit with your institutional history, your culture, your context, that might make it seem organic to you or not kind of imposed from outside. Third, leadership from the top matters, as does bottom-up engagement. This program started because President Nathan Hatch really made it a priority to initiate this work, and President Winty's really expanded it throughout the whole university. And so having that leadership from the top, from the president, from the provost, from the deans, from department chairs is vital to signaling the importance of this to the university community, to trustees, to possible supporters and foundations. But without bottom-up engagement from faculty, staff, and students, that sort of vision won't actually take hold. We found that it's really the bottom-up engagement from faculty and staff, especially, that's made this work effective. And they're the ones really delivering the courses and programming in ways that really reach students. And so having their support, engagement, sort of investment is vital to this work. And without that investment, no matter how strong the institutional leadership is, this work won't be as effective in the institutional context that we're in right now. But given that, then it's important to think about the ways that character education can support other institutional priorities and the ways that this work can actually help us advance our other goals beyond just forming students of character. So at Wake Forest, we found, for example, that character can support efforts for DEI, for diversity, equity, inclusion. We need students, faculty, and staff to be humble and recognize the limits of their own knowledge and perspective, to be empathetic and imagining others' perspectives and backgrounds, to be just and giving others what they are due, be that respect or opportunities, and being sort of courageous in challenging the status quo. So all these virtues of character that we might focus on can actually support important institutional priorities. Same goes for well-being, retention, and even community engagement. We found that students who are engaged in this work and find meaning in their time in education actually stay longer. They feel more well-being and flourish in that context. So it can be very important for a wide range of goals beyond just character education itself. Number 5, given that this work really is expansive in that way, partnerships are the best way to embed character across the institution. We partner extensively across Wake Forest. We have over 50 campus partners through schools, departments, and offices who engage with us in various collaborations to really make sure this work is organic, and we're finding synergies across different contexts. But that partnership takes a lot of time. It takes effort to build those relationships. And also takes balancing both coherence of vision and also flexibility. We need to have enough coherence of our vision to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, engaged in similar work, where we can have sort of collaboration that actually goes across differences, but also enough flexibility where we can be attuned to what might work in one department and that might be different from what might work in another department. So allowing faculty and staff to determine outcomes for them that might match their own curricular objectives or that might align with their virtues they want to focus on, and being open to actually allowing them to do that in ways that really fit their own departmental or disciplinary context. So that balance is very delicate, but I think very important for us to engage.
Great. So for those of you who are itching to ask questions, you need not wait much longer. I'm going to go over a few more lessons learned, and then we're going to open it up to y'all. So number 6, faculty and staff are committed and creative when they are given the knowledge, tools, and support to succeed. I mentioned earlier the course development workshops. That's been one of the greatest examples of this in action. We've partnered with faculty, given them a space to reflect, to think expansively about who they are and what they want to accomplish in their classes, and the sorts of modules that have emerged, the courses that have been redesigned or designed from scratch have been truly extraordinary. But to create this space, and at times to create even small stipends to help make it possible, has been truly a key part of our success on engaging faculty and staff. Number 7. Curricular interventions and cohort programs have the deepest and most sustainable impact. Right? Going back to what I said earlier, the number 1 bucket that I reviewed dealt with curricular and faculty support. Students ultimately are at college, despite all the many other things they have going on. Ultimately, they're at college for their courses. Ultimately, they are at college to learn things, and the classroom is where it starts. And so if you're able to integrate what you're doing into the curriculum, that can be extraordinary. That's something that allows you to touch them consistently throughout the course of a semester, and it allows for more durable impacts often. Now, the cohort programs also have proven extraordinarily valuable, in part for similar reasons. The durability. Having the same group of people that work together over an extended period of time where they build trust with one another, with each other, as well as with the facilitators in the program, that provides a safe space for reflections about who people are and who they want to be, relationships between their studies and their future work, purpose of college, purpose of their future careers. This has proven extraordinarily valuable. Number 8, character shaped not only by programs, but by people. CARE provides the context for transformation, which means this work is time and staff intensive. For those of you who've done this sort of work, I bet this resonates. This kind of work is valuable, but takes a lot of time. This care piece, being there, simply being available, to answer the late night text from a student who's having some unexpected trouble. Members of our team get those sorts of texts, right? This sort of work takes a lot of time. And so to do it well can be something that takes a lot of staff time and commitment. Number 9, research and assessment increase credibility and impact. Remember earlier I talked a little bit about why we do the research and assessment work that we do. We want to improve our work, we want to understand the impact, and we want to do it better. We also recognize that for better or worse, in academic settings, the research matters, right? What you are able to put out there in scholarly contexts helps give work credibility. We've been able to show that this is not simply something that is soft, fluffy, but this is something that is academically rigorous. This work matters and can be measured, can be assessed, and the story can be told. Number 10, and finally, at least for present purposes, although there are certainly other lessons we probably could share, but for present purposes, number 10, character education meets deep needs in our culture and institutions. Often when I start talks about why we do this work, I'll start with statistics. For example, if I'm talking in law school settings, I'll give some dire statistics about how lawyers are viewed and well-being of lawyers and so forth. It's not a surprise to those of you on this call that we have low and declining levels of social trust in our world, low and declining levels of social trust in institutions. Things aren't all good. There are problems in our world, and we believe that at least one of the things that we can do to try to make a difference is to prepare students to be leaders of character. And that's a step. That's a step towards meeting these deep needs in our culture. Finally, we'd like to thank our many supporters, including the foundations that are represented on this slide. As we mentioned earlier, the Lilly Endowment has helped make this Educating Character initiative possible, but other foundations, including the John Templeton Foundation, the Kern Family Foundation, and the F.M. Kirby Foundation have helped support our work as well.
Great.